There is a new dean of the School of Philosophy. I teach history and he teaches philosophy. Logically speaking, we are incompatible with each other. But whenever I talked about some strange things in history in class, this brother would come here after hearing the news for some reason, and he would whisper in my ears all day long that I should be rigorous in my academic studies. Dean Su said, "There are no ghosts in this world." He is a staunch atheist. Unfortunately, since one day when I was drunk, my true colors were revealed, and Dean Su has been looking at my tail in deep thought. Without him having to say anything, I knew that Dean Su's faith had collapsed. The reason was a history lecture, and the speaker was me. I told a strange story from 2,000 years ago, and all the students and teachers below listened with interest. Only Su Linzhou, a layman, insisted on humiliating me in public. History has been lost, but rumors dash. Before I could finish my words, Su Linzhou interrupted me with a frown. "Professor Jiang, there's no need to speculate about the lost cargo. You're not going to use any weird power or magic to explain the riddles of history, are you?" His tone was very serious, which made me feel awkward on the stage. Some teachers who were observing came to my rescue and said, "This is Professor Jiang's unique teaching method." Dean Su, don't be so serious. It just made me confused. Besides, I have published so many academic papers. Is it his turn to teach me how to be rigorous? But Dean Su didn't let go. After that day, he came to me whenever he could to make his presence felt. "Professor Jiang, things that have been lost in records are generally just conjectures of modern people. Not all unsolved mysteries in this world can be attributed to ghostly. Besides, there are no ghosts in this world," he added. At first I could listen to a few words from him, but as time went by, I really didn't have the heart to listen to his commonplace talk. I wanted to scold him, but I still kept my image in front of the handsome guy and said impatiently, "How do you know there are no monsters in this world? How can you be so sure about something you haven't seen?" He said sternly, "If there is one, I will definitely be able to see it." I really wanted to tell him that there was an old monster standing in front of him. He is also a monster that has lived for 3,000 years. Whenever Dean Su and I tell each other that there are no monsters in the world, I want to show my true colors and crush his three views. But it would be too embarrassing to argue with a human child who has only lived 28 years. He is a human being with naked eyes, so only ghosts can be seen. I was too lazy to argue with him, but whenever Su Linzhou showed up, I would immediately run away and never stay. Unfortunately, just after I hid from Dean Su for a semester, Dean Su's unwavering belief in the absence of ghosts and gods was completely shattered during a phone call. The moment the phone rang, his voice changed its tone in fear. "Professor Jiang, my house is haunted." "Dean Su, your house is haunted. Why are you calling me?" Dean Su was so frightened that he couldn't speak clearly. He hesitated and asked me to come over quickly. "Professor Jiang, come and save me." As soon as his clear and magnetic voice sounded, his handsome face appeared in my mind, and the thoughts of gloating in my heart were suppressed. After all, although Dean Su is very nervous, his face is quite attractive. I consoled me perfunctorily, "What a big deal, isn't it just a ghost? If you talk to it about the core theory of materialism, it might reincarnate on its own." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone, obviously for Dean Su. Completely speechless. After a long time, he said aggrievedly, "At this time, Professor Jiang is still joking." Seeing that he was the first to call me when something happened, I decided to go there myself. After all, this is the first time I have seen Dean Su who is afraid of ghosts. It would be a pity not to see it with my own eyes. Is Dean Su's house haunted? Ha ha ha. Sure enough, it's retribution. Let him say every day that there are no monsters in the world. Please click here for the follow-up, but then again, his house is haunted. Shouldn't he look for Professor Liu? After all, he majored in Taoist culture, so it was not my turn to get rid of ghosts. But when the taxi stopped at the address sent by Dean Su, I was no longer interested in the ins and outs of the matter. What appears in front of you is an old Chinese-style garden house that is marketable and priceless. Look at the tiles. They were from the Guangxu period. A piece of them can be worth a lot of money. At this moment, I suddenly felt that Dean Su's status in my heart skyrocketed. The butler's voice at the door woke me from my trance. "You're Professor Jiang, right? Our young master is waiting for you in the living room." "Master, young master?" You can't say it's Su Linzhou, right? I have been a human for so long, and for the first time, I feel that my tongue does not feel like my own. The housekeeper was young, had a very decent smile, and nodded to me gracefully. "Yes, the young master's surname is Su." I thought that although the Qing dynasty was dead, sometimes it was not dead. However, in such an antique house, it is not impossible to be haunted. I couldn't wait to go in with the housekeeper, wanting to see what kind of ghost it was that could scare the upright Dean Su into disgrace.